Welcome to the Public Access Podcast, the podcast. I'm your host, Rusty Diamond, and I am here today with my special guest, Shannon Avery Briggs. Shannon, welcome to the show in my radio voice. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I love your radio voice.
Thank you. Face for radio, voice for written letters, but it works out all right. But yeah, thank you for being here. I appreciate you showing up and getting to the show, whatever the show may be. Are you doing your rounds on podcasts right now? What's kind of your podcast game here?
Yeah, so there's been a couple of them that have, asked for guests. And last week I was on one that was called Unchurched.
Okay.
Um, and so had the opportunity to kind of talk about what it was like leaving a high control religion.
How did that conversation go? Like, did it go where you thought it was going to go?
It it ended up being more than what I expected it
Okay.
to be. So it was a wonderful conversation, and there were some ideas and words, and there was one word that she's like, "I'm going to steal that from you," and the word that I had used was actually superficiality, and
Okay. Yeah.
that was like the personalities of what the type of people that we walked away from, and that was one of the first steps that helped us to walk away from that, was knowing that we didn't want to be around superficial people.
It's draining. It's
Hmm.
really draining, and it's a hard one, especially when it's people. I don't know. I guess it's not people. I guess it's when it's something that you really do like, and then realizing that that's the case, and it's like, well, yeah, that's a tough one. That's a real tough one, and it's you know. But I mean, it takes one person to. I don't know how would I say this. One person to kind of change the whole energy of that whole place, and it, like one really superficial person. I mean, it's probably not just going to be one, but like one person. Like if you were at a uh, at your place of worship, that one person, yeah, one
Unfortunately,
person can.
yeah.
Oh,
Unfortunately, it is not quite like that. It's actually trained, and they are. It's a whole strategic approach. And so not only do you not get really closely involved with people, but then they put it under this facade of, brotherly love and stuff. And then there's also the pieces of those people that ultimately become spies. And so it's like, if you step out of line, you might get reported to to the elders, or to the organization, and then you can end up getting in trouble and actually getting shunned and getting removed from the congregation, and then you can end up losing your family. You can lose your jobs, even, because a lot of the jobs end up being intertwined. You work for different people in the organization and stuff. So, and all of the friends that you thought you had, you've lost that as well. So you can lose everything. And so that's part of the reason that my husband and I started doing the work that we're doing.
so I mean, were there other people that left with you, or was it just you and your husband that left? Or
There is a mass exodus coming out of this organization right now. That many people on a daily basis that are coming out. and we had no idea how large this community was. And so um, a lot of times you feel so lost because um, you feel isolated when you leave like this. So it can be a really lonely place. And unless you happen to come across one of those communities that is one of those ex-member communities, um, you can be, you know, be put in that isolated state, which can be really dangerous.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So, how'd you find that the X community?
So fortunately, we had friends that had left before us a couple of years prior to us, and then we also had I had actually my ex in laws had also left. And so we started having conversations with them and got really curious about what was going on. So, and what they had found out and why they had walked away. And so then they and turned us on to researching, and that was one of the things that was so fascinating with when you're inside of that system. They're going, stay away from these people, stay away from these people because they're poison, poison, poison. They're going to try to mislead you and everything. Well, when we did start having those conversations with the people that had left, actually what they had encouraged us to do was do your research, understand it, do your research. So they weren't trying to convince us of anything. They were like, go prove to go see what's out there and understand what's going on. And so that's what we did.
Yeah, I mean, it's so like, where were you finding the researching? Were you like going, sounded like this is a bit different, but when I was living in Utah, I ended up on a lot of TikTok of people who have left, who
Mm-hmm.
are, the excommunicated, or all
Mm-hmm.
of that. And I don't know. Yeah, I saw that there were communities there, and on Reddit seemed to be the places that I was finding those. But like, where were you? Was it just you doing Google searches, and then you see like, oh, this has been happening here? Like, it's just not something that was local to where we were.
So the very first thing that I did, because I still had that fear of actually, I was watching maybe like one or two of the TikToks and the YouTubes, but there was still such an ingrained fear that you didn't want to do that, because it was like you're waiting for the lightning to come through the ceiling, to strike you down for doing something like that. So my very, very first step was doing a very simple search on Google for 607 BCE. And the results that came back from that made I was dumbfounded. I could not believe that things had been hidden. And then after that, we were introduced to a series out of Australia. Actually, it was a court case that they did in Australia, where they had actually researched several different organizations and kind of dug into some of the things that they had received complaints about, I guess. And this organization happened to be one of them. So we watched that court case. It was like a 9-day court case, and one of
Wow.
the very top people in the organization ended up being subpoenaed for this. And to hear the words that came out of his mouth be the exact opposite from what they were telling the organization on the inside, that was like, those flags just started flying for me. And then also to hear the way that the men that were on the stand, how they would dodge and dart the questions. They wouldn't answer the question honestly, and they would just play games with it. And so that was like the very, very beginning that we started saying that aha. And then we started waking up, and then or really getting clear and waking up. And then we ended up so then we started researching more stuff. And one of the cases that had come forward was a case that was out of Montana. And when I one of the attorneys had actually been fined for misleading the court, basically lying to the court, and was fined for it. And so I was curious about that, and I started looking into that, and come to find out the main plaintiff in that case was somebody that I knew in my younger years. And so it was like, when those moments happen where all the dots connect, it's like, oh, now all of this makes sense. Sit in what had happened to her, and what kind of even the way that she behaved and stuff. And so it just became really, really crystal clear. And so then we started seeing more and more cases of this. And one of the things with the results of the Australian Royal Commission was they ended up uncovering a database that had been put in place for since the 1950s, where they had 1,006 people who had been at least been accused of CSA, and victims were over that, were more than that. But of those 1,006, not one of them had been turned into the police.
They say they're going to do an internal investigation.
Yeah,
That's yeah, that's a big one. It's messed up. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
And so
I yeah, go
that
ahead.
was just Australia. That was just Australia. So they have those same standards, all all across the world. And so these things are happening all across the world. And so when my husband and I woke up, we took a step back and said, even reflected on the different experiences. So I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and they I didn't get support in that arena either. They blamed me. They were like, you should be a better wife, you should listen to him. And this was even after he had threatened to kill me and my children. And even after that, they tried to get us back together. And so yeah, it was we and then um this isn't my current husband, of course. This was a past husband. But I had even written to the headquarters back then. This has been back in the late 1990s. I'd written to them and said, they don't understand the strategy and how the cycle of violence, domestic violence, works. And I said, by not giving the leaders in the organization an understanding and a knowledge of how that works, you're actually creating a perfect environment for that to thrive. And I had been disfellowshipped because of some of the things, and so they can't. Their response to me, I got a letter in response that told me I was being vindictive for being disfellowshipped.
So what happened with that? How did you get disfellowshipped, if
So
I might ask?
um, there's only one way to be freed from the marriage, and that's through adultery. and
Okay,
and so that's the only way. And so that I knew that in that stance, or in that moment. And so then they did disfellowship me, and I did call for, when I met with them and we discussed the domestic violence. One of the things that was said to me by one of the leaders was, what makes you think you're so different? We've had other women come in here with a black eye before.
I mean, that's not like, oh, hey, maybe that's something that we should be looking at, instead of, hey, let's cover
No.
this up because it's going to make our organization look bad
Yeah.
that this kind of stuff is happening.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, it's, that's wild. It's And so, I mean, what does getting disfellowshipped mean? Like, does that
And
mean? You like leave your like you can still be part of it, but you have to go to a different place, or what's that? Or is it you're kicked
it
out?
means it means that um, people can no longer talk to you. It means that your family will no longer talk to you. You, if there have been some, even as teenagers, that have been kicked out of their homes, and basically, and they won't, even if their children are calling and stuff. A lot of the parents won't even answer the phone. Right now, I'm not disfellowship now. We just walked away, but I am getting shunned by some members of my family because we changed our beliefs. We no longer believe, and it's not like I am trying to convince them of what they want to believe. I'm not going to try to um, go go apostate on them. It's like they need to do the research and figure out what's right for them.
Yeah, you could tell them a million times, and it's not gonna. When they're in that deep, it's not gonna really do much until they're. I mean, it's kind of the same with anything. Like with people that want to stop smoking. I hate this example, but like, you know, people aren't gonna stop smoking because someone else told them to stop smoking.
Right.
I mean, you got to get to that point where you want to do it yourself, and you start seeing all the stuff that's going on. You start putting together those patterns of manipulation and a whole bunch of other disgusting stuff. Saw it with yeah, I've seen it with some communities I've been a part of,
Yeah.
and I am basically in a very similar situation, and a lot of people won't talk to me anymore because I kind of did the same thing, and I was like, but I'm seeing this stuff, and yeah, and
Yeah.
it's hard when it's like something you love, and I mean I'm sure that there's still love for what it was or maybe what it is. It's not. I don't know if it's just turned on like hate or what, or how that's gone. Like, what's
Well,
kind of your feeling?
have you ever seen the Truman Show? That movie, The Truman
Yes,
Show?
yeah,
That is what waking up is kind of like.
because
When you realize that everything that you believed in, everything that you trusted, everything, that you had been taught was an illusion. And then it comes crashing through and you have to figure out, okay, what is real? Because all of this stuff you said was real is not real. And in some respects too, it's almost like when during the Wizard of Oz when they pull the curtain back. That's kind of what it
yeah.
feels like too. Here you had all of these beliefs and hopes and dreams, and this thing could answer, what you were hoping for and looking for, and that curtain gets pulled back and everything just shatters.
So I mean, what was that moment for you when you? I guess when I don't know what the point in the movie would be, uh, like
What
where
was
he
my
really starts figuring it out.
what was so my light, the light
Oh,
crashing down
where it
the street,
drops.
that
Yeah.
that was the 607. that
Okay.
that was the 607 moment for me. But then there were other things where he was like, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense, and having that hope, where it's like, wait, this is supposed to be real. But then you realize that all of those people are actors, and he didn't know who he could trust or anything like that. And then you see the girl that is watching him on TV. She was the one person that was honest with him, and she's watching him on TV and like touching the TV. That's what it can kind of feel like with the people that we've had to leave behind, that are shunning us, that we have to love them from afar and hope that eventually they'll come to, and so
Yeah.
walking through that door, that first door, um, to where you can actually start figuring out how to build your self-trust, because that's been ripped away from you. Having that trust in yourself is non-existent. So it's like baby steps to start building some of that up, to where you can actually start living a self-led life where you can trust your instincts, where you're not looking externally for those answers to guide you.
Yeah. And I mean, so are you having people that probably on the inside are praying for when you're going to come around and come back? As kind of a stalemate at that
Mhm.
point of, thinking that you're being stubborn while, while you're thinking that they're being stubborn. Both can be correct. And
I personally don't think that they're being stubborn.
what would you say the word would be? How would you?
Indoctrinated.
Okay, that's fit.
Because
That's
you could see it when I would have the conversations with my family. I could
yeah.
say like one word and you'd feel that wall go up. Woof. You could
What
just
was
feel it.
the word?
It could
Sorry,
be
I mean,
it could be any, like um I could, when I even said, we're not coming back. And even the last time that I talked to one family member, I said, I want you to understand this was not an easy decision for us. And the wall went up. Whew, because she was afraid that I was going to attempt to. I'm assuming that, but it was like a protective mechanism that they have, to where they won't talk about anything outside of that. And it wasn't like, and I told her, I said, I'm not going to attempt to try to convince you. I just want you to understand how I came to my decision. That's the only thing I want you to understand, is for you to understand what and how difficult this was, because I had to give up the hopes of the future that I had, that had to go away.
yeah. And so what happens then? What happens when you're at that point of here's everything I know, uh, gone? What's next? Where? How
So
does that work?
I remember when that was going through, I was curled up in a ball in my dark bedroom, and like going, how can this not be real? How can this not be real? How can this not be real? And part of it was that hope. So the one of the beliefs was, a resurrection on earth of people that had passed away, as well as our opportunity to live forever on a paradise earth. And so that hope of being able to have a life for all of that time, was gone now. And so you have to come to that realization that you're mortal, that you're truly, that you're gonna get old, and that you're going to age and stuff. And the people that you had hopes to be able to, see again on earth, is not the way that it had been presented to you, you know
Right. And so I mean, what if there's like a different way? I mean, maybe like people. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it would be the soul recognition, but it wouldn't be the physical recognition of
And so
seeing.
that's one of the things that now you got to kind of look into, decide, because all of that before was not, that's we were told that that was not true. That
Okay,
wasn't a
so
true thing. So now all of a sudden, sorry if you can
yeah,
hear the dogs in the background. Um,
They're having fun.
so that's one of those things that you have to basically get your mind around. That well,
Yeah,
maybe that is true. You know what is true now. So
yeah. So okay, so then I mean, what happens? I mean, yeah, everything's just kind of absolutely different.
mhm.
Everything that you wanted to know exists, but not in your perspective the same way. And I mean, it's very hard to let go of beliefs that have been instilled in you for. I mean, were you raised this way, or did so? I mean, so your whole life, so all 35 years of your life. Um, I'm
Thank you, by
guessing
the way.
you're welcome. So like all that time. That's a long time. That's everything you know.
Exactly.
That's that can be world shattering. And there's probably some people who don't come back from that when that happens. And I don't know what the stories or statistics are on that one, or if there are any, or if those are more things that have been kind of swept under the rug because it can be seen as bad publicity. Um,
Oh, they won't
is
talk
it
about it. They won't talk about it. We
sure?
don't exist.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, yeah, that's kind of what happens, and then those kind of things happen again. Uh, I mean, yeah, you go and you hide the history, then that stuff starts happening. I mean, yeah, and what I was involved with, it'd be the same sort of thing again with the, like don't talk about it. Well, we'll do internal investigations, and then that stuff happens again, and it was happening with the CSA, and it
Mhm.
was it was messed up, and then oh yeah, we'll take care of it on our own. No one calls the police.
Right.
No one's calling the news and being like, hey, it's just going to look bad on the scene, and it's horrible. It's
It is.
so. Is there like I don't know if you can talk about this either. Are there uh, fraternal organizations that they're involved with, or is it sort of their own
Are you talking
line?
Are you talking about the inside or the outside?
The inside,
The
uh,
inside.
the inside. So they're kind of in their own lane. They're not affiliated with any sort of other, or because I mean, or are there maybe not fraternal organizations then? So then, are there powerful places like maybe not like a corporation or something of sorts, or things like that? Are there those sort of connections, or is it
They are. They are a corporation.
okay? So
They
then
are.
themselves are a
Yes.
corporation.
Yes.
Okay, is it like uh, property? Right.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Property, movie studios. They do some now. It's getting more into digital, but they used to be do a lot of printing.
Oh,
And so they do some printing still, but overall it's more digital now. And so
oh,
online stuff and everything. But yeah.
and so is that part kind of well known, or is that sort of
Uh-huh.
okay? Yeah.
No,
Is that, I mean,
there's a
yeah.
lot of stuff that's behind the curtain that the majority of people are not aware of.
And so, I mean, how does that? I don't know. Like, is that something like with TikTok that you start seeing the TikTok videos, or is that something that people who are involved in it or in the know-how, or is that kind of kept from people in the that are in
It's
it at the time?
it's kept from people, but there's also like people that will leak information from headquarters that get
Okay.
that gets put out there, among the community. But that's one of the things, like, with John and I, my husband and I, we focus more on how do you get to living that self-led life, and how do you start learning how do you build that self-trust in you, and so that you can actually go and live the life that you deserved to live. If you decide to go to school, I got grief for getting my degrees. I got kind of spoiled
Oh,
for getting my degrees, even though I didn't. It was like a requirement for my job. My job paid for my degrees, and when I shared that that I'd gotten a degree, I got put down for it. That's kind of, oh well, that's not what that's not what we do, kind of thing. But it didn't stop me, because I'm kind of stubborn, and so I got both my bachelor's and my master's, um, and so kept moving on. I was a little bit different.
what did you get your bachelor's and master's in, and did that make it better or worse, or did it not matter? It was just higher education that was frowned upon.
What's fascinating to me, anyway. So my bachelor's is in business management,
Okay.
and then my master's is in organizational psychology and development.
Okay, so that could
And
be a bit of
and yeah, and
okay.
so when I look at some of the patterns and stuff that you can see with what happens, then too, like, as people come out of the organization and they are doing certain characteristics and stuff, there will be patterns that carry over. Even though they stop being part of the system and the organization, they will still sometimes carry some of those patterns with them, into their new world, without even realizing that they're doing that.
Hypnosis.
Yeah, great.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, so that's I guess. I mean, yeah. So I mean, with hypnosis, so that was. I mean, I think so many things in this world are hypnosis in one way or another. Um, I mean, what were the? I mean, I don't know. What were the services like? I mean, how did that work? What do?
Repetition, repetition, repetition.
Okay, so then that okay, yeah, that's the strategy. Was it how often would that cycle repeat?
So they had a very pretty defined schedule throughout the week. So there would be two meetings, like on Sunday, two meetings on sometime during the week, and then another meeting. That, like, when I back in the day, that's when, like, when my current husband and I first got married. That's the way that it was. So we basically were at either the congregation or somebody's home 3 times a week, and then on top of that, you had service on Saturdays, or sometimes even in the evenings, and so you were expected to conduct Bible studies and go out and put in a certain amount of hours each week and each month, in serving this organization. And so the way that the the midweek meeting was pretty much where they would teach you how to sell. It was kind of
Sure.
like a sale. It was kind of like a sales pitch, even, and they portrayed it as a school. And then on Sundays they would have like a public discourse, and then they would have a study out of a magazine. And that magazine, when they would read the paragraph, And so you had the information in the paragraph, and then they would call on people in the audience to answer, and they were to re- more were to basically repeat what was said in the paragraph, rather
Oh,
than really, really, truly be able to say, what are your thoughts about this? It was just reiterating what was said in the paragraph. So, usually, by the time that you've completed, and then at the end of the magazine, there were review questions, right? So, some of those thoughts and ideas had actually been repeated to you 3 to 4 times in 1 hour, and
okay. And
that happened every
sorry.
week.
So are you talking about the Watchtower? Is that the magazine? Okay.
Yep.
So so you're learning the sales technique to be able to go knock on doors.
Hmm.
So you have a system of door to door salesmen that are
Yeah.
salesmen. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah, yeah, to be able to do that, but you're also stick to the manual because it's not the understanding of the concept. It's repeat this information where, you know, if someone asks a question about that, your knowledge of it is go back to these talking points and not uh, you know, opening it up for, I guess, different points of view, like
Right. Right.
understanding what it is and uh, being able to talk about it, the concept and understanding. It's just repeat what it is.
Yeah. And they would encourage you to do research, but you
Where was
only
the
had
research done?
in their library. So
Okay, yeah,
they wouldn't encourage any outside research.
okay,
So
all right, yeah.
you couldn't bring something in and say, but hey, wait a minute, this specialist said da 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 da, you know. You were if you were to ever bring anything like that in, you know, you could get talked to in the back room.
So, okay, this another question. So, when uh, so I don't know, so like this is a bit different, but I used to deliver pizzas,
Hmm.
and for a number of years, and we had this would have been 25 years ago probably, but we had basically a map of the area with everybody and whether they tip, whether they are a pain in the ass every time we have to deal with them, or whether they're a great person and they tip. But it was very mapped out, and like for and I thought about this, like, you know, if we would have been able to take that and sell it to somebody as some sort of you know, business, other, you know, the business of data of, you know, what these people like, if they're gonna, you know, maybe be open to buy something, you know, sell it to some advertising companies, like, but then yeah, and then living in Salt Lake City, I mean, there was I so I had a business there, and I know that I don't want to get I, I don't know. I don't want to definitely say something, but I know that I had some people come to the door, and I was felt I was nice, but I was very
Mhm.
uh, adamant I was not interested, uh, and because there, so I had a secondhand store. I had a vintage thrift shop, whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it,
Yeah.
and there is I mean, there's Deseret, uh, whatever Deseret is their whole thing, and so like there's all those stores. So like I don't know, I could have been bad at business. I can say that, but I think that there was also a don't support this business because this guy, um, you know, doesn't do it. But I do believe that my business wasn't great. It wasn't a good idea, but I think that could have also been a part of it. I think I could have been don't support this business because this person is so and so. Don't go here. And but I don't know. I know. Yeah, I know. I wasn't. I should have just had an online business, but I had that thought.
Mhm.
But
Well, they definitely had maps. So
okay,
you would check out a territory that had a little map. Their whole entire the community's territory was out on a big wall, and then each it was broken into different sections. And so you would get a little card with a map on it, and that was called a territory. And so you knew exactly what parts that you were to be covering. And if you did come to a door where somebody was absolutely not. You could say, put me on your do not call list,
yeah.
and then they would add. You could add that in the, and they kept it inside the sleeve on the back side, and or if by chance there was somebody who had been disfellowshipped, they would not mark that on there as well. Because that's supposed to go then to the leaders for them to come and check on them and have conversations with them and stuff. But there was I hated it. I hated it.
Going door to door, or you
Oh,
hated the
I
part
hated
of
it. I hated all of
okay.
it.
So were you in your area? You didn't go to somewhere different. You didn't go to. I mean, it's because it's not like you're going on a mission. Like you're going somewhere that is in your community. Like you're not leaving. These are people you know. That
Potentially.
yeah. I mean,
So if you
it's
can think of an elementary age child that comes to the door and acts and ends up at one of his schoolmates' houses, and how that could feel as a child.
oh wait. So kids are going on this as well. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep.
Um, all right. So is this any age? Any age they encourage to
From the time
go?
that those kids are born, they are in the meetings.
Okay. Um. All right. Yeah, so
Not a
yeah.
not a
Go ahead.
Sunday school, not a separate thing. They're in there for every single training. So if they're talking about marriage and when couples get married and the details of a couple getting married and what's right, wrong and right in the bedroom, those kids are
Yeah.
sitting in that conversation in the auditorium.
Okay. All right. So what was? I mean, what's the inside like? Is it? Are a lot of the places the same? Is it? Is it set up like? What's the lighting like? What's the?
Fluorescent lights,
Oh,
no
okay.
pictures, no windows.
Okay.
Very
Oh.
few. There's a few of them that throughout the world that may have windows, but for the most part, no windows. Chairs, a stage, a podium, usually a table and chairs on the stage because that's part of the school. They use that during the school or when somebody is doing the question or reading the paragraphs for the Sunday session as well. And there's usually there's also typically a back one or two back rooms where they'll have like a second school if they have enough people in there, and then just kind of an entryway in there. Very, very simple, nothing fancy.
Okay. And so, I mean, are there? So, yeah, I grew up Catholic, and so I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I left at 14,
Mm-hmm.
kicking and screaming, and uh, you know, um, and I mean that didn't go over very well with you know, yeah, I don't know, with a lot of people, and yeah, I still, I don't know. So, I mean, were there uh, like rituals of sorts, like like with the Catholic ones, they
Yeah.
had
No.
the scents, the
Yeah.
incense, and the chants and stuff like that, which were, basically yanked from other uh, places. But, that's so it was very much straightforward talking, and that was it.
I think the rituals come in the having that information pounded into you.
The repetition.
The
I
repetition.
mean,
That's
rep,
where, you know. But as
yeah,
for incense and all of that, no.
yeah. I mean, there's a million different ways to hypnotize people,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's whatever works for whatever. And I mean, it's it's hypnosis, and
Yeah.
it's kind of wild. And so I mean, okay, so you go to a door, and someone just slams the door in your face. What's going through your head then, at that time?
Am I in or out? That's what I'm gonna.
In
But
the in part, we
in the
can do
in
both,
part,
in the in part and then
um,
the out part.
so the in part would be um, probably like a reflection of, ooh, um, I didn't practice my presentation well enough, and so I didn't put that question in there just right, or also even just like, okay, dust your feet off and go to the next door.
Okay. What about on the outside?
I wouldn't be caught dead in the floor. I would be caught dead at the door.
So, when you go to someone's house now, if you're going
Mhm.
over to visit someone, do you just walk right in, or do
Oh, no,
you?
no, no, no. Not
You
like that. No.
now you still knock, ring the
Yeah,
doorbell, and
yeah.
does any of that come back when you do that? When you go, like, if you go to someone's place or anything, do you
Yeah.
still, like, okay, that's
No, because the purpose is different, and I think one of the things my that really, for me, even when I was in, even though I was in and I thought I believed it, I don't believe that my body believed it, because it was
okay,
so difficult for me to do any of that work. It was just, when you're going against your true values, your body will fight you. And
right?
so I truly believe that I struggled with it being a violation of my true values. So
Yeah.
my brain may have believed it, but my body didn't.
So, is there a way to get out of going door to door if you are in there? Is there some, like, I don't know, if someone uh, has, I mean, do you have to be not able to physically go to someone's door to be able to get out of it, or are there other ways to get out of it? Like if you have horrible anxiety, or is that just something that doesn't exist in that, or if
They're still going to
uh,
encourage you. They're still going to encourage you to go. Um, that being said, if you don't go and don't go and don't go, then you pretty much just become inactive and they kind of give up on you.
what do you mean by that?
That
They enact. Go ahead. Sorry.
you get, they keep track of all of this stuff, right? Whether how many hours you're well, now they quit counting the hours, but it used to be when we were in, you actually submitted a report every month to say how many hours that you were putting in. Now it's just a check the box. You just check the box unless you have a special if you are like a pioneer or an elder, then there's still an hour requirement that you submit a report in. But if you are somebody who doesn't put that time slip in, and didn't check the box, they'll try and get you. Oh, come on, go out and service. So they'll like quote encourage you. But then if you don't and you don't and you don't, they'll pretty much just give up on you, and you'll become weak,
And
and then they won't like if anything did happen in your family, they won't be there for you.
okay, that's interesting. So, like, what's the term? So you kind of lose the backing of the office, I guess. If you're not doing that, you're not
And it's
getting the. Go ahead.
and even with that, it's just kind of sort of backing. So say for example, like the family ended up losing income and needed help financially. One of the standard practices is for them to give you a list of the local churches that
Okay.
offer
Now,
things, like food banks and all of that kind of stuff, because they don't have any of that. So they
oh,
actually are like, stay away from all these worldly churches unless you need unless you need food, and then it's okay for you
right.
to go. But then you can't go to any of the
Well,
meetings, any of the like you can't go to any of the services. You just
their
have to
services.
get the churches that are offering these services. You can't go to them, but you can take their free, the things that they're using to care. It's crazy. It is so crazy.
So, what happens if you go to one of the services, or what if you? Is it all just? Because I mean, like, who would see you? Who would
There's
or
spies, remember?
so are there spies that would be in these other services,
Not in the other
or
services, but something could happen, where your guilt is so bad because you've been had this indoctrination, that your guilt is so bad that you come forward and confess. And so you could end up in the back room, you could end up losing privileges, all of that.
what
So,
kind of privileges?
being able to answer, for example, on Sunday.
What do you mean being able to answer? What is?
So the watchtower on the with the where they do the question and answer, where they cover
Oh,
the watchtower.
not really. Okay, so this question and answer is also great hypnosis.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay,
like I was saying, they would cover the watchtower article, they'd read the paragraph, and then they would call on somebody from the audience to answer, which is just to reiterate what was in the paragraph. So you could lose that privilege of being able to answer. Or
okay,
if you are one of the guys who carries the mic through the auditorium during that period of time, that could be taken away from you. Or even being able to for the on the school where you give the talks and stuff, that can be taken away from you.
okay. That's interesting.
A little bit of
Eh,
manipulation, you think?
Right? Yeah, yeah, a little bit there, and um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, just yeah, the part about having to feel like you need to confess, and so uh, who would you go to for for the confession? Because this, I mean, is it like, I mean, yeah, with Catholics, you have the confession booth. You have that part. You go in there and you do the thing, and here you go. You do
Um,
this, and you're good to go. But probably there's still some mark on you of something. You're getting the
well, the
yeah. You,
congregation is managed by a body of elders, and as well, and then they have helpers that are called ministerial servants. And so, if you were to confess, or if you got called in front of one of their, and they changed the name recently, but it used to be called a judicial committee, where they
uh,
would bring you with three different elders, and these are only men. There are no women, and
oh,
so you would be called into this meeting, and they would have a conversation and try to readjust your thinking
and
through.
so oh, go ahead.
They would try to readjust your thinking through Watchtower and Awake articles and very few scriptures.
Okay, and so again, yeah, that reiteration of what needs to be making everybody question less,
Yeah.
and yeah, um, so yeah, I mean, like you were saying, when people were doing the call and answer and being encouraged to not think for their own, but
Hmm.
to reiterate what is like studying for a test. Like
Yes.
you're not you're not thinking critically about what's going on. You are remembering these talking points to be able to pass the test, and then that knowledge is not something that can be really built off of. It's just belief and fact
Yeah.
at
I
that point.
Yeah, there was a recent video that was put on by that somebody did on YouTube. I'll have to send it to you because after this conversation,
Oh,
I think that you will find it very fascinating, and to see these guys that just went around in a circle and a circle and a circle and a circle and a circle. He would answer their question, and they still would be like, "When are you going to answer our question?" So I think that
yeah.
you'll really enjoy it. I will send you the link to it.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, I like that. It would be. It's. I don't know. I don't want to say fascinating, but like it's like when with what I do, it's like okay, well, yeah, like they see what it is. I see what works, and I know there's a huge spectrum of what everything, all of this can be used for, and whether it can be for good or bad, or somewhere in between, and whether, but then it's also justifiable good, or because you really think it's good,
I,
and
and
that
but now looking back, though, it's like if you can't be you, if you're being molded into somebody who is not you, that's not good.
agreed,
That
100%
is
agree.
absolutely not good.
Yeah, and it's it's not teaching self empowerment. It's it's a collectivist mindset disguised as a collectivist mindset, where it is still a do this for the betterment of me. I
It's
guess it me being the whole religion.
and they use fear. It's fear mongering is what they do. And the other thing too is that they're not open and honest with those that are within it. So there are so many things that those people are unaware of that organization has been involved in because they hide it.
Yeah, and it's hard. Like, yeah, when you're seeing new people come in, and you're like, I just want to tell you this stuff right off the bat, but you can't really do that. Like, I mean, they're not going to listen, and they're going to
Well,
be
they don't
told,
know. They don't know.
don't listen.
That's the
Yeah.
other thing is they don't know. It's shocking when you find out when you do the and so this is like through you know um, court cases. This is through governmental documentation. This is through tax information. This is through all of this stuff, business registrations. And when you find that out and none of that is made public to those people, it's too, and to see, like I was saying, even with the Australian Royal Commission, to have one of their top leaders say the exact opposite to that court that they do to the organization or to the people in the organization. The exact opposite.
And, yeah, and you don't want to be that person that's digging around and finds an information. One, because you can't really tell anybody, which is another hard thing. Because if you tell someone that, they're going to tell the higher ups,
Yep.
and like then you're stuck with that information, and you can start to like, who do you tell?
Then you start having that cognitive dissonance that is just going crazy and louder and louder and louder in within, and then you end up finding avenues where you can come in anonymously and start sharing some of these thoughts and these ideas and stuff until you're ready to make the decision as to whether you're going to stay in there and deal with that cognitive dissonance or where you're actually going to take a step out you know
So, what do you mean telling anonymously? So is that like like with what's it called? Like HR in corporations, like
oh no, you're not anonymous
you
within. There's no anonymous. Mm-mm.
okay, yeah.
This
So
would be out. This would be like going to Reddit and posting
uh,
anonymously on Reddit or posting even on YouTube or in Facebook and being anonymous with those in those communities that have left.
so do they have then people probably monitoring that to see who's doing? They can figure it out pretty quickly uh, who the anonymous person is if they really wanted to, without, because I mean, eventually some detail I'm have a feeling would be coming out, and it would be like, oh, that's from our place. Like someone is talking about. Then they start getting,
On
uh,
occasion, on occasion,
yeah,
stuff like that can happen. Um, for the most part, the other thing too is those that are in the X community are very protective of those who are choosing to stay anonymous, because they
okay.
understand it is a safer space. But the organization itself has attempted. There were two court cases this last year that ended up happening. One of them was with Meta, and I can't remember what the other one was, where they were attempting to get the companies to give up specific data from different organizations to find out like who's behind them and
Wow.
so that they could, yeah, it's it's pretty big with that. And so I'll have to see. I'm not sure if I can find that one.
Okay.
But there's another video that where this one YouTube channel, he breaks it down and says there's these two court cases that they have filed, and it was the thing that they had attempted to use was that these people had violated copyright,
Copyright about
like
the
using copyrighted material from their public website.
oh,
So that's what they had used. What's very fascinating
wow.
though is that they had attempted to do that, or they had done that before, but the only thing that they were trying to get was actually the information under it. They weren't trying to actually file and get these people fined for copyright violation. They were trying to find out who was doing it,
Right.
so that they could you know, find out if they are if they are being this information is being led, by the from somebody within, or whether they needed to be disciplined through disfellowshipping or whatever. So they use different tactics to be able to try to. So I'll try and find that one too, and if I can find it, I'll send that one to you too.
Okay. And so, I mean, like, so then there's obviously a very strong litigious aspect, and probably some pretty high powered lawyers and stuff involved with the organization
Yeah.
that are obviously very good at what they do. Uh, I guess is a not the way I want to say that, but yeah, they're very
Yep.
knowledgeable about how to get what they want.
Yeah.
And
and and part of it too. So for example, there was a huge case in Norway these last few years in regards to shunning, and Norway had stripped their religious rights, and they sued Norway. And
though
so
they sued the country.
it ended up at the Supreme Court, and it came back with a split 2-3. And there's a lot of um, one of the things is challenging is not having the scientific data to back up how damaging things like shunning truly is to people. And so there's an organization right now that is actually working with Roehampton in the UK that is doing a 3-year study across all several different high control environments, high control religions, and doing an in-depth study on just what it is, what the damages is, and that it ultimately is a violation of human rights. And so they've got this 3-year in-depth study. Now, if the court could have had something like that went in, possibly it could have been a different outcome, And so there are some of those types of things that are happening actually throughout the world. That they are trying to see what they can do to help, so that this doesn't happen anymore.
Okay, because yeah, so I lived then also close to, like, basically on the border of Lancaster County in Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
with the Amish who do a lot of shunning. If
Yes.
there is that, and seeing people who have left that organization, um, what it does to them. I mean, that's also. I mean, that's even more of a enclosed life of that, and then yeah, shunning someone and having their I mean, their whole world is changing. I mean, it's kind of similar, and just watching what it can do. And I mean, I don't know what the studies have been done on that, or if there are studies about it, or how how that works, or how those studies would even be conducted, like how you can
It's pretty cool.
quantify.
It's pretty
Okay.
cool what these guys are doing, and actually that's one of the things, like with what my husband John and I are doing now is through our movement that we created. It's called the Exit Generation. So we offer coaching and through that, and we also just recently started a network of coaches and professionals that do things like NLP and breath work and those types of things, bringing us together to see how we can serve the X community better and help them work through a lot of the challenges that so that they can learn how to have that self-led life and get rid of the guilt and get rid of some of the things that they have gone through. And so one of the things that we also are doing is creating community by getting people together on a regular basis. And one of them that we just kicked off here in Arizona is actually a really simple card game where we can bring people together, have some food together. We can also share with them about things like with the stop mandated shunning, what they are doing. And so they can, if they choose to donate to that effort, they can do that, and they can and get together and be able to have conversations with people who understand, as well as there's some things that we're incorporating to help them to start talking about something else rather than just where they have been. And so those are some of the things that John and I are doing with our network. We also have our own live channel on YouTube that's called Deservingly You, where we came up with a framework of what it's kind of like to come out of the high control environment, and kind of some of the things and the emotions and some of the things that you might be experiencing. And so we just bring them ideas of things that they may want to try and give and help them to also understand and have a different perspective of what can help them get through. And so that's been really, really successful, and it's starting to take off within the community and having this network. So one of the things that ended up happening just recently, the professional network that we're building and putting together as well, is over this last month there have been several lives that have been lost due to them taking their own lives. And so this community, this network came together and put together a grief cycle or circle, a grief circle. So we had a provider from the UK, we had providers from Ohio, we had people from Florida, we had people from here, me in Arizona, a couple of us in Arizona, that came together and, helped them understand, why this may have even hit them a little bit harder then. I mean, anytime there's a passing like that, it's always difficult to understand. But when you are coming out of this kind of environment, we shared with them how the grief can ultimately stack, and so you get something like that, and it's definitely that the straw that broke the camel's back, and you're just trying to make sense of it. So how do you work your way through that? So we had a couple of educational pieces in that grief circle, and then we had a sharing. And so we had a facilitator. We also had a safety facilitator, so that in case anybody does have a difficult time, they can go out into a break room, online, and be able to get some help, where they need it. And then we did a closing with, honoring the people that had passed with a moment of silence, along with some tools, so I did some HeartMath with them as we did the moment of silence and stuff. And so had so many people that were interested in it that we're having a follow up this Thursday. We're going to do another one, and we'll see what ends up happening with this network if we create something similar, like on a monthly basis too, because it is so difficult coming out of there.
Yeah, and I like that you're doing the breath work and other. You said breath work and NLP, and I mean those are more. I mean, at least breath work, like that's something that people can do on their own,
Yep.
which is, to be able to self regulate yourself, and which again is not having to go somewhere else to get that internal regulation.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like having a community is great, and being able to, but being able to do it on your own is really great. Like to be able to have both, to be able to, not go like I have all the answers. Like you gotta give people, like, give them the tools to
Yep.
be able to do it on their own. Like that's, and be able to have the know-how to do it on their own. The uh, the reasoning why to do it on your own, not just like here's what you do, don't question it. Like you need to understand and have those different ways to do that. And so are there is this for strictly for Jehovah's Witnesses, or is this for anybody that's leaving their place that they've been for a while, or how's that work?
Well, right now the network that we are building, we're primarily focusing on the ex Jehovah's Witness community. Um, you know, but the providers don't just serve ex Jehovah's Witnesses. So eventually, the thing that I am building right now, even on the exitgeneration.org website, is I'm going to have a list of the providers that are part of the network, and so that page will be able to go and decide if they wanted to work with somebody. They click on the link and it goes to that particular provider's website. So in that sense, yes, it's open to anybody. As for um, the, the current circles that we're doing, those right now, because we are just getting started with this network, we are focusing on the XJW community, and especially because of these huge losses that ended up happening this last month.
Yeah. And okay, and so then to be able to find you and those, they go down here in the description. They click on that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna go to you, and then you're
They can reach
taking
out.
them where
Yeah,
they need to
they
go.
can reach out to me and ask any question that they want. If they're looking for a specific. So we also have like some people that do Reiki work in that network. And like I said, we even have therapists and counselors, and like I said, the breath work, as well as with hypnotherapists as well in the network, too. So yeah, if they're looking for something, and want to learn more about what we do, they can reach out to me.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's it's good to have all those resources, and they're probably, yeah. I mean, I don't assume that there would be too much of go to a hypnotist or a Reiki uh, within the the Jehovah's Witnesses before
No,
that.
yeah,
There's
right,
probably not too much of that, so that's probably something new.
right,
Could always use a bit of uh, education on that, and
exactly.
even breath work. I like telling people. It's good to tell people to go take a few breaths, even it may not be the best thing to if you go and tell someone that, but it's coming from a good place, and I want that to be something that gets changed in my lifetime. That it's no longer a threat
Right.
of sorts, telling someone to calm down and go take some breaths. It's not like that's going to set someone off. Like, I want that to be changed within my lifetime.
Yeah.
That's becoming a positive, and I hope that that happens because being shunned can throw you right in fight or flight real quick. Um, and yeah, when you're in fight or flight, you can't take in new information. You're just trying not to get killed by the lion.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
uh, it's good to
That breath
get
work
people
can
out of
bring
that.
that cortisol down.
Right? Yeah, it just breathing. All you gotta do is breathe. People are already breathing. Just you gotta find a way to breathe a little better and more effectively. And it's
Yeah.
not as difficult as one may think, and it's okay. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, Shannon, thank you so much for
No,
being
yeah.
on. I didn't know we were gonna talk what we talked about, but yeah, I'm good with it. It's where it went. That's where
Yep.
the conversation went naturally. So, yeah, thanks for being on, and I'll put the links down there. And
And
yeah, and
I'll send you the I know I'll send you the Pilgrims one. I'll send you the stop mandated shunning, and if I can find the other one on those court cases, I'll send those to you too. That might take me a little bit later to get that one to you.
okay, if you can get any of them in the next like 10-15 minutes, I'll put it up in the show notes. Otherwise, they're for my own
Yep.
viewing, and
Yep.
maybe I can, yeah, throw them in for something else. But
I can do those
yeah,
two. I can do those two for sure.
okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much,
All right,
and
you bet.
hope you have, yeah, a great rest of your day. And everyone, you need to find me, rustydiamond.net. We'll take you anywhere you want. That's the main page. It's got all the links and all that fun stuff. So thanks, everybody, and that is the show. Man,